The following program may contain subject matter and language suitable for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Meltdown. I'm Norm,
And I'm Jeff.
and today we're going to be talking about millennials, and we're going to be talking about people who don't necessarily, take responsibility for things. And Jeff, I expect you to contribute to this show.
You know what, Norm? I gotta be honest with you. Today, it's not my problem. Just kidding.
See, I knew Jeff was kidding, but I bet you didn't know. See, we fooled you. We funned you.
Fun, yeah.
And that's the title of today's episode is Not My Problem, because I don't know, Jeff, we were having this conversation earlier, and I don't know, it's, every generation, how they say the newer generation is, this and that, and they listen to this horrible music, and they don't care about stuff. But a lot of people might agree that this millennial generation is exceptional when it comes to saying, not my problem. It's almost as if they expect everyone to do everything for them, but they don't expect to have to do anything for anybody else. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I have noticed some mixed up priorities. Like they're focused on one thing when in fact there's a task at hand that has to be done first, and yet they seem to be off somewhere else. I do notice that from time to time. That is for sure.
Yeah, they have a hard time focusing. And it's just that kind of general overall feeling of entitlement in a way?
Entitlement, I think that's
Yeah.
accurate to say in some cases at least, yes. Entitlement and putting themselves first. People want to do a good job. I don't care what age they're at. It's not so much that, but it's just it's just this mind drifting that I notice. It's just this, they can't wait to get on their phones. And we talked about this in past shows. They can't wait to get on their phones. They can't wait to do this. And I'm noticing too that at times there's sort of the bare minimum that's being done. Like they're getting the job done, so to speak. But boy, once it's time to leave, it is definitely time to leave. And I'm not saying they should stay half an hour past work or whatever the case may be, but they really watch the clock in that respect. I find in general, some people's attitude is just kind of like, well, who wants a job? I mean, that's a job is for suckers, you know what I mean? Who wants to work?
Well, nobody wants to work.
No.
But you have to.
But you have to. Yeah. So it's this sort of getting out of it and doing what they can, and then. Yeah.
I've noticed that millennials oftentimes don't realize that their actions affect other people.
Yeah.
And I remember reading a study years ago that said the average human being doesn't realize that their actions have an effect on other people until they're about 20 years old. It doesn't really kick in until 20. That, oh my God, geez, I wonder if that hurt so and so. And I guess I'm wondering if that age now is increasing to, maybe mid-20s. Who knows? It'd be a great study if somebody would want to do that it would be interesting to find that out.
For every action, there's a reaction, and for everything that you do, it affects this person, and vice versa. So if you're sort of isolating yourself and putting yourself first, you really have to look at how it's being affected down the road and who it's affecting. It's like a tumbling dice or whatever you want to say. It's kind of that kind of effect, absenteeism for work is a huge issue, I think, in our society right now. And it's not just being absent from work. Who has to take over the workload for that day? If it's a customer-related job, are you delivering a poor level quality of service to customers because you're absent? And I mean, hey, if you're sick and you legitimately need to take sick leave off, I mean, I think it's great, of course, that we have sick leave in our society and our culture today. I'm not saying it's wrong to take time off. It's just there's a time and a place for everything, as we've said many times in this show.
Yeah. Yeah, and just remember, the next time somebody does something that pisses you off, ask yourself, what have I done lately that's pissed somebody else off? Think about that.
And I mean, hey, I am guilty of it myself, especially when I was younger. There was times I certainly acted irresponsibly. I put myself first, and I am not a millennial. I've matured since then, I hope. In fact, I know I have.
Yeah.
But there's times I definitely didn't think about what my actions were, how they were affecting other people. I was kind of like, well, I need to do this, and I'm going to do it regardless. In fact, I wasn't even thinking about how it affected other people. And you've got to take that responsibility. If you're unhappy with a situation, the best way is, of course, to deal with it face on. Don't just sort of push it aside and just not show up to the bad situation. That deal with it. Talk to somebody. We have lots. I'm sort of talking about work. It's not just work, but these days, we have places in a lot of work environments where you can go, and in a lot of cases, there are definitely different avenues in which you can take care of your problem and not affect other people in a negative way.
What you said makes total sense, and also leads us into our next segment, because that's exactly what we're going to talk about for our fun facts. All right, so this is an article I found on a website, and it's from Tammy Lenski. And if you Google Tammy Lenski, you'll find her site, and she's got some articles on problem solving. So she does focus in this article more on work. Okay, so problems at work. But I thought this was really interesting. So let's begin. How to navigate the not my problem problem. That's not my problem are 4 of the most frustrating words to hear when you're trying to talk through a conflict. They're dismissive and may leave you feeling powerless to resolve the problem. Here are 3 tried and true ways to get problem solving moving forward again. To deal with the not my problem problem, you must first stop doing what you've been doing and figure out what's going on for them. So number 1, stop trying to persuade them that it's a problem that should matter to them. Okay, number 2, try to uncover why they don't think it's their problem. Now, when you do this, you'll often learn that it's not my problem is code for unstated thoughts like these. I'm not ready to acknowledge my contribution. I'm not willing to acknowledge my contribution because of something you're saying or doing. I don't like the way you've named the problem. I can't fix the problem as you've defined it. And I really do think it's all your problem. Now, for option 1, adjust your problem frame. The reasons we've mentioned can be reactions to the way you've framed or named the problem. Try to find a new way to name the problem that makes it a joint problem to be solved. Option number 2, give them some space. A few of the reasons we've mentioned can be caused by emotional hijacking, a bad day, and other time and place problems. Try to give them some space to get their feet back under them so they can bring their better self to the conversation. Take the lead without pressure, signaling your interest in pursuing the problem without pushing them to talk about it right now. Kind of makes sense, eh?
Yeah, it's sort of a subtle approach in a way.
Yeah, and this one I found really interesting. Option number 3, mi problema es su problema. This is my personal favorite for those problems where I'm troubled by someone's behavior, but they don't view their behavior as problematic at all. To their thinking, I really am the one with the problem. Their behavior is fine, so I need to adjust my attitude. The mi problema es su problema approach might sound something like this. Here's my dilemma. I'm very bothered by this problem. Not talking about it will not make it go away for me. And that's going to create more tension and a bigger problem to sort out. I'd rather sort it out while it's still manageable. Would you be willing to discuss it even if you don't feel responsible for it? So I think that approach, right, might get someone at least talking about it, and that's the first step, right?
Yeah. Start
the dialogue, get them to think about it while they're talking about it, and then perhaps at some point down the road, they might even admit that, they had some blame in the game. Right.
It's sort of a good way of, once again, a subtle way of getting them involved. And even if they don't see it as their problem, it's almost like, well, could you please help me with my problem? But it's a lack of labeling. And I like that lack of labeling. It's like, it's like, here is the issue, and here's how I would like you to help with this issue.
Okay, so now let's go to some not my problem stupidness. So this is an article called Survival of the Thickest.
Okay.
All right? So enjoy this. The West is getting dumber because clever people no longer have more kids than stupid folk. Shock research claims. This controversial study indicates that our overall level of intelligence may be decreasing for the first time in more than 1,000 years.
Wow.
The overall intelligence of the West is dropping because clever people aren't having as many babies as they once did, while stupid people are breeding and thriving like never before. Now, that's the shock claim made in a new piece of research which argues that an ancient process which has seen European-derived populations on both sides of the Atlantic become smarter and smarter with every generation has gone into reverse. Over the past 1,000 years, it is believed that clever people were likely to sire more children than thickos. This micro-revolutionary trend saw the genes linked to intelligence spread throughout Western population, boosting the overall smartness of society. However, this 1,000-year process has not only stopped, but performed a full U-turn and turned from survival of the fittest to survival of the thickest. A team of scientists have discovered that a selection of ancient genes linked to high levels of general cognitive ability, or GCA, an overall measure of intelligence and problem-solving ability, have gradually become more common in Western people in the last 1,000 years, suggesting we were getting smarter. But in a recently published paper, a team led by Michael Woodley of the Free University in Brussels said this happy trend ceased in the early modern period, which is roughly the end of the 19th century or the beginning of the 20th. The millennia-long micro-revolutionary trend favoring higher GCA not only ceased, but went into reverse among European-derived populations, largely in response to factors such as the asymmetric use of birth control and prolonged exposure to education among those with high GCA, the team wrote. So what this appears to mean is that clever people are more likely to use the pill, condoms, or other contraceptives. Educated women are also believed to have fewer babies than ladies with lower IQs, further reducing the overall smartness of the gene pool. Selection is the key. When you must use your wits to survive and restrain present urges for future gains, then the brighter multiply. When, in less taxing circumstances, there is no particular need for wit or restraint, then there is no premium for those characteristics. So what does that tell you?
Well, I've often held the theory, and again, perhaps this paper proves it, that, and I'm really generalizing here, but that the more intelligent you are, the more likely you are to use birth control. Now, I know that's a loaded statement because there's a lot of things about spontaneity and in the heat of the moment and all of that. But it's interesting that paper would at least suggest that theory is true. But yeah, some things that I've thought about. And
all right. So until next time, this is Jeff.
And this is Norm.
And this is The Meltdown. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
Right.